to introduce myself, but we don't need to now.
We're rolling.
Right. All right, we're here in Boulder, Colorado at Hotelephant, at the headquarters where the magic happens for elephantjournal.com and Walk the Talk Show. I'm very honored to be here with my longtime, lifelong acquaintance and friend and Vajra brother, the Buddhist teacher Lodro Rinzler. Lodro.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. And Redford, the dog, is just out of
Just
shot, but he's napping. So Lodro, I'm very excited to have you because you're doing something that I have a lot of longing and angst around, which is you're extending what I love, which is the Buddha Dharma and meditation out into the world and making it, you're introducing it to those who maybe don't care about being Buddhist, but who want to be more mindful and have fun and be genuine. So you had this hit book, A Buddha Walks into the Bar. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
And how's that going? You traveled all over?
It's going really well. I actually traveled to 36 cities last year, which I don't think I would ever do again. Uh-huh. But it was really, really fun. And the best part, as you said, I was reaching a lot of young people in particular. People who, they said, if I'm anything, I guess I'm Buddhist. If I'm spiritual, but maybe I'm not religious. I'm like very wary of organized religion. And this is perfect for them because it's very much how does meditation, mindfulness, compassion practices apply to everyday life.
Right. And Buddhism is very disorganized.
It's totally disorganized.
If you want to join a club that doesn't really even know you're there, Buddhism's it.
Yeah.
So before we get into your new book, which is very exciting, can you just talk about meditation for a second? Is it super boring? Does it relate to life? And how does it work?
It is super boring, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Awesome.
I would never sugarcoat that.
Right.
And actually, I remember not too long ago, someone asked me, what's the number one obstacle to meditation, in your opinion, particularly for young people? And I think, we've been raised in this instant gratification culture, where if you wanted, before this interview ended, you could, pick up your phone and order my book. You could, order groceries.
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. My friend, she works in tech, and she was telling me that a record number of people in 2012 went on this app where they would custom design a luxury automobile and have it delivered to them through their phone. So meditation's not that. It's so slow going. It is life-changing, it is transformational, it is wonderful, it makes you kinder, more present, but it takes time, so that's hard.
Right. So, great answer. How much do you have to do it, when do you do it, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I get asked this a lot.
Yeah.
I always say that one of the most important things when you establish a meditation practice is just consistency. Mm-hmm. Can you get a consistent time of day? Maybe it's not 8 a.m. every day. It's after my morning coffee, I sit down to meditate. A consistent space. Mm-hmm. So if you're like me, I live in New York, I have a corner that I go to. It has a meditation cushion. Or if you don't want to invest in a meditation cushion, a statue, an incense burner, a candle, anything like that, that will set you up so that you have a consistent space that you meditate.
So just somewhere to sit and somewhere to focus.
Yeah, that's it. And then a consistent amount of time. 10 minutes a day is all you need to do to get going.
And could you do 5 minutes or 4 minutes?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, in terms of to continue with consistency, it said that if you do anything for 11 days in a row, it actually becomes habit forming. So it could be quitting smoking, it could be writing every day, whatever it is. So meditation, just try it for 11 days, 5 minutes even, 10 minutes.
Right.
See how it goes.
And then I know in Buddhism, from my experience, they say in the morning is best, like you mentioned, and then also in the evening because it affects, before you go to bed, because it affects your kind of state of mind for the 8 hours or whatever you're asleep. I
think it's really nice if you can bookend meditation in the morning, meditation in the evening. And another thing I like to recommend is just having a moment of reflection, even if you don't formally meditate. As you're brushing teeth, as you get in bed, you're how much kinder, more present was I today because of my meditation? See if there's actually any effect.
And the Buddha invented meditation, is that correct?
The Buddha did not invent meditation, but it's sort of as popularized by, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's 2,600, 2,700, 3,000-year-old practice, but it's still so relevant today.
Uh-huh.
It really is, particularly the shamatha or kama biting practice that I always introduce.
Uh-huh.
That was really nailed on by the Buddha, and it's something that we can still do today in terms of being more present and more focused.
So is it appropriate, can we try and all do it together, those watching the video, and you would lead us through how to do it for a minute or two?
Yeah, totally.
Just as a sort of a little training, and then people can do it for longer at home.
Yeah. I'll give you guys like the 1 minute version of this.
Awesome.
And then if you follow me on YouTube and other things like that, you can get longer meditation instruction.
Okay.
So the most important thing when we sit down to meditate is to actually feel balanced.
Okay.
So if you're sitting in a chair, getting your feet firmly on the ground, feeling your butt firmly on the cushion or a chair.
And you sit up a bit, it looks
Yeah,
like.
so after this strong foundation, you sort of elongate the spine. If it's helpful, you could even think of a string pulling you straight up, allowing for some sense of like connecting to your natural skeletal structure. Mm-hmm. We drop our palms on our sides, and then we can actually just rest our gaze, keep our eyes open actually. If we're going to try to be more present, more awake, this is a great reminder about that. So we just rest our gaze about 2 to 4 feet ahead of us on the ground, keeping it loose and unfocused. And then the object of our meditation is the breath. It reminds us that we can always be present. The breath is always fresh. It's always now. So it's a great anchor to come back to the present moment. And then when we get lost in thought, we can even silently say, thinking to ourselves, just as a reminder that what we ought to be doing is coming back to the breath. So that's the 45-second, 1 minute version of it.
And then what do you, so you find yourself thinking, you say thinking silently to yourself, and then what do you do?
You just come straight back to focusing on the breath. Just how much we breathe all the time, right?
Right.
We always are
Hopefully,
breathing.
yeah.
Right. If not, we have a bigger problem.
Right.
So how much can we just be with something we already do all the time? That's the whole practice.
But it is interesting, like I climb a lot, and when they're teaching the children how to climb, they say, the first thing you'll notice when you're climbing a hard problem, a hard move, is you stop breathing. You actually hold your breath. Yeah. And that's our approach to life, I feel like.
Yeah, we seize up. Yeah.
Yeah, you say, if I just clench and get stressed, I'll get through it.
Yeah.
And really, what they're teaching in climbing, which has no spiritual aspect to it whatsoever, necessarily, they're just trying to teach you how to climb higher, is breathe and relax. So,
yeah,
thank you for
as
that.
you said, like you could make climbing meditation practice.
Oh,
you
for
could
sure.
Make
Running.
reading, running, whatever it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just how much do we actually show up for any of this activity?
Yeah, our teacher, though, Sakyong Mipam, he has a lot of great books. He just came out with a book a year or so ago about running and meditation.
Yeah.
How to run better through sort of treating it as meditation.
Yeah, just being there for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your new book. What's up with that?
So the new book's called Walk Like a Buddha, Even If Your Boss Sucks, Your Ex is Torturing You, and You're Hungover Again.
Uh-huh.
The way that these titles keep expanding, I'm pretty sure it'll wrap around for the third book.
Right.
It'll be like on the back cover
Like
too.
Monty Python long
right,
titles.
just keeps going on.
Cool.
And it came out of, as I said, I traveled a lot for the Buddha Walks into a Bar. And people kept asking me really great questions about social action, about romantic stuff, sex, dating, about work. How does meditation apply to actually being present at work? Mm-hmm. Going out with friends and stuff like, is it okay to be Buddhist and have tattoos? Mm-hmm. So actually compiling... No, not at all. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
So compiling 50 of these questions and then just writing really short responses to them.
So let's go over a few fun sample questions. So starting with the title, If Your Boss Sucks, How Does Buddhism Help You with that?
Yeah. So the particular teachings that are talked about in Walk Like a Buddha are known as the 6 ways of ruling, which is also something that our teacher has talked a lot about.
Ruling like being a king or queen.
Yeah, but just showing up as an authentic leader, really.
Uh-huh.
Like, how much can we just show up authentically, even if our boss is just a jerk?
Uh-huh.
And I hear that one all the time. My boss is a bully, he or she is a gossip, a slander.
My boss is great.
Yeah, your boss is you.
Very good looking.
Really sweet
humble,
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very modest.
Giving.
So how much can we actually give, if someone's coming at us with aggression, a lot of space to that person? And there's this traditional analogy that Suzuki Roshi always uses, or used to use, where if you've ever seen a bull in a rodeo, like they keep it in that pen and they rile it up by poking it, and then that's why it's so angry when it comes out. If you give that same bull a wide, spacious pasture to just exhaust itself in, gradually the anger recedes. So you can actually respond to aggression with a sense of gentleness, and that actually can win out over time.
So how is gentleness, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because I know when someone's being a jerk and I'm a jerk back or I argue, then it just escalates.
Right, absolutely.
But if I'm gentle, isn't that, I mean, tell that to a junior high kid, you know, if they're getting bullied and they're like, oh, well, that was nice that you just shoved my face in a locker.
Right.
That's not going to work, right?
No, it's not. So there's other aspects here too, of like actually confronting aggression, not giving into what's known as idiot compassion, not giving into just compassion for compassion's sake and be like, oh, you'll be fine, don't worry, but like about pushing my head into the locker.
Right.
But actually, like at certain times, being present enough that you can skillfully see what the situation calls for. And that's what a lot of the 6 ways of ruling is about.
Yeah, in our Buddhist training, it often is said soft front, like an open heart, and a hard or a strong back, or a strong spine.
Yeah.
So you mentioned idiot compassion. That's an interesting term. What's that all about?
So one of the questions that's in Walk Like a Buddha is, my friend keeps getting back together with her ex-boyfriend, and he keeps cheating on her or being verbally abusive, and she keeps coming to me heartbroken. What do I do? And that's actually a perfect example of idiot compassion, because you could turn to that person and say, oh, totally go back to him, honey, like, it'll be better this time, or, and that's just sort of like compassion for compassion's sake, right? Or you could actually say, the skillful thing in this case is to actually sit that person down and be like, look at this pattern. Look what you're creating for yourself. Look at this dynamic that's just so habitual. Can you actually see that and see through it?
So that's sort of like tough love.
It's tough love.
Saying something sort of mean or critical, but you're doing it out of love.
Exactly. Compassion doesn't always look pretty, right?
That's
the notion.
That's cool. So, and then going into number 2, what was number 2? My crazy girlfriend or boyfriend is harassing
my ex is
me.
torturing me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Although it's funny, they use that as the title, but the question that's actually in the book is, what do I do when I'm still in love with my ex? Oh. It's a different sort of torture than what you normally think of, right? Because it's still torture.
That still counts.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the practices that I actually include, and I totally cite her, it's okay. Pema Chodron said, if you are missing someone, you can actually just put their photo somewhere, and every time you actually see it, you look at them and you just say, I wish you well, or I hope that you're happy right now, in this moment.
Good advice for stalkers.
Totally
just let go,
right.
Wish them the best.
Wish them the best.
Move on.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's definitely one element of it.
Right. So Pema Chodron, you just brought her up. We all love her. She has amazing books. With Shambhala, highly recommend her and her YouTube videos. So check her out.
And another aspect here, I mean, in terms of what got me going with all of this, is I remember picking up her book, Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart, for like the millionth time. And I'm sure you've had this experience where you pick it up and you're like rereading and it seems fresh again. And it was the story of how she came home and her husband had been cheating on her and she has to go through a divorce. And the heartbreak that she had. And I saw that and I was like, I know heartbreak, but I haven't gone through a divorce. And I was like, who's talking about your first heartbreak? Who's talking about like your quarter life crisis instead of your midlife crisis?
Right.
So a lot of my work has been really trying to gear this teachings and using the examples that are a little bit younger than what you normally see in a Dharma book.
Yeah, a little bit. You're being polite. So this, you're reaching people. I mean, probably anywhere from like 12. We go through tons of heartbreak and emotional stuff when we're in school. To, maybe 40, 45. I mean, really, Buddhism is for anyone, obviously. Sure. But, I know I've gone through. I mean, when I was 17, at this seminary, this Buddhist program, I opened up, like you said, to Pema Chodron, talking about unrequited love. And I was kind of missing my high school girlfriend and, had never really been able to let go of that. And I read that and she said unrequited love, if you take away the object, is actually that brokenhearted feeling that you have when you're completely present. And it's actually a positive thing, and that's how warriors feel. And it was the first time where I was like, oh, this isn't a problem. I can actually just relax. So...
and that's another aspect of like the answer to the X is torturing you question, right? Just like how much can we just be with the emotion as it is without having to feel like we need to do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah, or we need to fix something. So,
and a final question, one of my major sort of positive irritations, I think, with our own Buddhist community is that, and also the yoga community, I think, although in some ways the yoga community is more outward facing, is we're given all these wonderful tools, but often we just sort of focus on our own happiness and our own life and our, maybe our family and stuff or our friends, which is great, but we don't really extend this amazing gift of meditation, teachings on compassion to the world. So you're really talking about social action, which I love. How do all these tools, or do they, how can we as Buddhists or people just practicing meditation use these teachings to help the world?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because we can say, oh, I meditate, and that's like something I do on the meditation cushion for like 20 minutes a day, and that's a cool thing, and then I've got this other like rest of my life that I don't really think much about, that meditation practice. The whole thing is, we shouldn't have to break our life out in that way and say, okay, over here is my spirituality, over here is my daily life, my interactions with authority figures, my relationship to money, my determining whether I want to be vegan, vegetarian, meat eater, whatever. It's all one and the same. And I'm like a huge fan of not drawing a hard line in the sand and saying like, no, you can't do this. Yes, you can do this. But it's very personal. So this book, and I mean both books really, The Buddha Walks into a Bar as well, are very much how do we go through our own journey of self-awareness so that we can actually approach something like social action without feeling like we're forcing our views on someone else, and we're actually just going into a situation, seeing it for what it is, and then just trying to be helpful. So
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So like Buddhist activism would be less about kind of protesting or whatever necessarily, but more about going into a situation, getting out there and just saying, kind of with the view of how can I help?
How can I help? Exactly. And I love the story that a friend of mine told me where they were at a meditation center and there was this like huge blow up between the head gardener and the head chef. And there are several hundred people on the land, they all need to eat, and these people were like at each other's necks and it was not helping anyone. And it literally exploded when the gardener dragged tomatoes into the kitchen, threw them down on top of someone's workstation. For all of you chefs out there, you know that's like a huge no-no. And the head chef grabbed the tomatoes, walked out to the back porch, and threw them off, and just got rid of them. And everyone exploded. All these like meditators, right? They're like, he should get fired. You know, that's outrageous. We can't have that here. Right. They should go through mediation. And everyone had like a fixed idea of what had to happen. And there's like this one kid who turned the box right side up and went and picked a tomato up and put it in the box. And did that one by one with the tomatoes, and then put it aside until tempers cooled and they could actually address the situation with a calm mind. And that was the most skillful thing anyone could have done in that moment. So it's how much can we see a situation and then just help out, as opposed to saying like, I know what needs to happen here.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot because I do feel like our spirituality can very quickly become this, or very subtly become this selfish endeavor where we're working on our own happiness, which isn't sort of what yuppies do. You know, we're almost perverting this wonderful offering into something that we're trying to keep for ourselves. And when really the delight of, you know, our teacher Trungpa Rinpoche, Chogyam Trungpa, and the Sakyong, and any Pema Chodron, yourself, is walking into the bar, is getting out there, is extending it to the world. And
then how much can we actually like offer compassion at the bar?
Right.
You know, in the midst of a protest.
Right.
In the midst of like a bully of a boss. All of them.
Yeah, and in case you've never noticed, like Buddhists don't really care about going out there and proselytizing. You've never had Buddhists come to your house wearing a backpack and trying to get you to sign something. But I do think the practice of meditation can apply, you know, whether you're Jewish or Christian or whatever. It's really not a religious practice.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a show don't tell thing, right? Like just practice meditation, see if it affects you in a positive way. If so, you might want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to go out and be like, I'm trying meditation, I'm a Buddhist now.
Yeah.
That's silly.
Here's
like
my mala.
Yeah, here's my mala. I'm super spiritual. Yeah. It's just how much can we actually just be more present, be kinder, be more compassionate. And if people pick up on that, wonderful.
Right. Right. Well, Lodro, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
I have to ask, since you do a lot of interviews and I'm a Buddhist boy and we go back, is there anything in this interview that maybe you want to bring up that hasn't come up in other interviews? Some sort of personal thing why you're doing all this or something?
You know, there is some element here which actually I don't talk much about.
Yeah.
Around this time last year, my best friend passed away unexpectedly. He was someone who had worked on the Obama campaign starting in the Senate race of 2004.
Wow.
And
Sorry.
Worked in thank you. Worked on the primary, worked in the 2008 cycle, 2012 cycle, and then passed away in that time. And it sort of, in my own grappling with my grief, I ended up springboarding out into Ohio, the swing state of Ohio, and just like working the campaign like a mad dog, you know, and I think it was really wonderful for me to go out there, and it was a whole other sort of authenticity training, because the way that model worked, and it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever, I mean, it's just a beautiful model of going out there and meeting with people one-on-one, hearing their stories, hearing why they're inspired to support the president, empowering them if they want to do work for the president. And I think it really shaped my own journey as a Buddhist. and someone who I feel like now I'm actually able to talk a little bit more about social change because I've seen other models that are very much in line with what we do, and people are actually out there implementing this on a day-to-day basis, and I think it's really, really wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, a lot of tragedy is continually happening in the world, and it often has this strange silver lining where it really inspires people who are open-hearted to change the world for the better. So thanks for doing what you do.
Yeah, thanks.
Keeping it fun.
Yeah, same.
I like it. Lodro Rinzler.
All right.
Good man.